streaming, YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from wherever you are connecting. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairava Tantra, when one is at ease with oneself. When one is at ease with oneself, all is good. He cannot be destructive. He can only be creative. His revolution can only be creative. His revolution can only be creative. And you cannot see anything creative in him. I am reminded of one thing. What is Buddha? What is awakened consciousness? What is awakened cognition? Awakened cognition. On this dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings we seem to meet, but the awakened consciousness recognizes the aspiring cognition, aspiring consciousness beyond time and space. Even after 500 years, the awakened consciousness recognizes the aspiring consciousness. You may be born long after, you may be born in a distant land, but your heart will vibrate, pulsate to merge with this awakened consciousness. This is the awakened cognition. Buddha had mentioned of this in the Diamond Sutra, Vajra Chedika Prajna Paramit Hridayam Sutra. Subhuti asks a question. Will there be anyone after 500 years who will recognize, who will understand these sutras, or who will recognize? In response to that, Buddha says, Subhuti, never say such things. There will always be bodhisattva that will recognize when these sutras are recited again. Such is the understanding of the authors of upcoming works or the works that has already been available via Amazon. They will always recognize it. It may take a little time for them to recognize, understand, but they will do. A Buddha is silent, non-violent, not because he has practiced it, not because now he has realized himself. Now the flower has blossomed to its total flowering, so nothing is there to release. He is fulfilled. He is simply grateful to the existence. Every moment he remains grateful to the existence. Nanak says beautifully in Japji Sahib, Jo tudh bhave sai bhalikar, tu sada salamat nirankar. Jo tudi bhave, whatsoever appeals to you, referring to God, whatsoever appeals to you, let that happen. Jo tud bhave sai bhalikar. That is my wish also. Tu sada salamat nirankar. O formless, you ever remain radiant. He is fulfilled, simply grateful to the existence. Now there is no complaint, nothing is wrong. When you really blossom, everything is okay, all is good. Because of this, Buddha cannot see the problems, he sees the solutions. All is good. That is why Buddha is not revolutionary. You think of revolution because your focus is on problems. Buddha's focus is on goodness. To be a revolutionary, you must be able to see misery, you must be able to see problems, you must be able to feel the whole mess all around, the hell. To be a revolutionary, you must have a feeling that everything is wrong, nothing is going good. Only then you can be a revolutionary. Buddha was here in this land, Mahavir was here, Nanak was here, Jesus was here. They were not revolutionaries. Why? This question arises, why? When someone is at ease with oneself, he sees goodness all around. He cannot be destructive. There is no need to destroy anything. You can only be creative. His revolution can only be evolving out of creativeness. And you cannot see anything creative. Do you see anything creative? Do you see creativity in the smile of a child, giggle of a baby, the blossoming of a flower, the raindrops, the clouds floating in the sky, the waves rising on the seashore, on the surface of the ocean? When somebody destroys something, only then it becomes the news. There is no news that I saw the sun rising. I saw the clouds floating in the sky freely. The stars, the moon, the sun rising. A Lenin can be a revolutionary but not a Buddha. All over the world now there are revolutionaries. We have the famous French Revolution, and they go on growing. And the reason, it is because fewer and fewer persons are realizing their potentialities. The moment you realize or recognize your potentiality, you will allow it to blossom. The seed has the potentiality, but seed is not aware of its potentiality. Man has the cognition, he has the potentiality, and he can be aware of his potentiality, he may not be. So sometimes it takes a while. A Mahabir is even aware not to kill even a single insect because he sees the life pulsating. Everything is pulsating with life. You are just seeds. A great destiny is hidden, but nothing is being realized. The potential is being wasted. The seed remains the seed. The modern generation is much angrier than the older generation because there is more awareness of the possibility of less fulfillment. Now the new generation knows what is possible much more than the older generation. The present generation is alive to the fact that much is possible, but nothing is happening and nothing is becoming actualized. So there is more frustration. If you cannot be creative, at least you can be destructive. Michelangelo, who was a great sculpturist, he made a sculpture of Jesus. When the body of Jesus was removed from the cross and it lay on the lap of Mary, it was a beautiful piece of sculpture. It happened, Michelangelo belonged to a common family, not much financial resources. He used to spend his pastime by a shop. At the back of the shop there was a big piece of stone, marble stone. So one day Michael at times will go around at a stone and will see something, the potentiality. But it was not within his means to buy that stone. One day the shopkeeper told Michael, there is a big piece of stone lying useless, occupying the space. I will give it to you. Michael said, this I cannot pay for it. So the shopkeeper told Michael, I will give it to you and transport it to your place. It was done. Michael started working on that stone for months, and out of that carved the sculpture. Jesus' body was brought from the cross and lay on the lap of Mother Mary, a beautiful piece of sculpture. It lay in Rome, in the Basilica. When the sculpture was complete, he had it covered. He asked this shopkeeper to accompany him as he wanted to show him something. Shopkeeper went with Michael. As Michael removed the veil from the sculpture, the tears began to flow from the eyes of the shopkeeper, and he said, Michael, how did you do that? Michael's response was, that is a response of an awakened one. The sculpture was hidden in the piece of stone. I simply had the opportunity to remove the superfluous stone, and the moment it was done, the sculpture that was hidden in it started manifesting. It remained there for years. Some 30-40 years back, a man from America went there. He said, I cannot be creative like Michael, so I cannot be famous, but I can be famous by destroying that sculpture. And he cut off the hands of this, destroyed, damaged the hands of this sculpture. It was a great shock, and efforts was made to restore the hands. None could do it. Then one day a young sculpturist came. He said he will restore the sculpture. He was given the opportunity. Do you know how did he restore the sculpture? Underneath he wrote a sentence. Now that my hands are no more, now that my hands are no more, I work with millions of your hands. Now that my hands are no more, I work with millions of your hands. This is creativity. If you cannot be creative, at least you can be destructive. You feel your power in being destructive. Anger, violence, they are all destructive forces. They are there because creativity has not yet blossomed in you. You have not yet been aware of the creativity hidden in you. Do not go against them. Rather, help them to be realized. Do not suppress them. Allow them to evaporate from you. Then that which you think is opposite is absent. When they are evaporated, you will suddenly realize the silence is there. When water begins to evaporate, it is transformed into steam, vapors. Suddenly you realize when the anger, violence, hatred starts evaporating, suddenly you realize there is silence. There is love. There is compassion. They are not to be cultivated. They are just like the stream hidden behind the rocks. You remove the rocks, you remove the blockages, the stream starts flowing in its full splendor. The stream is not against the rocks, not opposite of the rocks, just the absence of the rocks. And an opening happens, the stream starts flowing in its all majestic glory. Love is in you like a stream. Anger in you is like a rock. Remove the rock of anger, but you will be forcing it inside, more inside. Then you are forcing the stream as well as to go more inside through this rock altogether. Through this rock, there is no need to hit someone with it. You want to hit someone because you do not know how to dispose of the rock. Without hitting anyone, without harming anyone, you can dispose of your anger. You can dispose of your violence. Zen use this technique. There are many meditation techniques that can dispose of this in a better way. That is what is the work of an awakened one, is how to throw it without harming anyone. This process is known as catharsis. There is no need to harm anyone. And if you can throw this rock without harming anyone, everyone will profit out of it. You may not be throwing it at others, but it will always be theirs and others feel it. When you are angry, howsoever you suppress it, your anger is felt. You vibrate it. Around you, a subtle sadness happens. Everyone becomes alert that some disease has entered you. Everyone wants to leave you because you have become repulsive. Your very attitude will give a bad flavor, bad odor to you. You may not be aware, but biochemists say that when someone is in love or is in anger or is in sex, different types of odors are released. Smells, odors are released from the body. Actually, not metaphorically. This is not metaphorical. This is actually happens. When you are in anger, a bad odor is released from your body. When you are in love, the quality is different. In sexual passion, a different odor is released in you. Animals are attracted to this smell, odor, because when a female is ready, a subtle odor is released from her sex glands and the male is attracted to it. You would have observed the dogs smelling, and through the smell they recognize if someone is ready. That is why you see dogs smelling. They can smell sex. If you are sexual, you are also releasing a subtle odor. If you are angry, then too, because different chemicals are released in the body system. Consciously, no one may notice, but unconsciously, everybody notices it. You are a burden, repulsive, destructive. Throw this poison out of your system. So remember this. It is good to release this in vacuum. The sky is big enough. That is why we have in Sufi path gibberish meditation. Nobody knows the name of this master. He belonged to a place called Jibar, and from that the word gibberish came. He will lie down under the open sky. The stars and the moon, they are forming the canopy above his head, and he will say things whatsoever appears, whatsoever come to him. This is one of the technique of releasing it. Zen do it. They will go and pull the water from the well, or chop the wood. When all alone, just close the room and move as if in the sex act. Allow your whole body to move, jump, scream, do whatsoever you feel like doing, but be total into it. Forget everything, the societal inhibitions, etc. Move in sex act alone, meditatively, but bring your total sexuality to it. with the other, the society is always present because the other is present. And it is so difficult to be in such a deep love that you can feel as if the other is not present. When you are all alone, can you feel that love? The outpourings of the work is an expression of experience and realization of love alone. Only in such deep love, in a deep intimacy, it is possible to be with your lover or beloved as if he is not and she is not. That is what intimacy means. The person is there or not, it does not matter. If you are as if alone with your lover or beloved or your spouse in the room, there is no fear of the other, then you can move in the sex act totally. Otherwise, the other is always and remains an inhibiting factor, inhibiting presence. The other is looking at you. What will he or she think? What will be? What are you doing? Behaving like an animal? But when you are all alone, you can do. There was a Hasid master. His name was Levi Isaac. He used to be alone, jump tables, this and that, climb up the tables, chairs, and like a madman. This was his way. His life was beautiful. If love is really there, then you can move even alone. And when two bodies become one, they have a single rhythm, single harmony, a synergy, a symphony. Then two-ness is lost, sex can be released totally. And it is not like in anger. Anger is always ugly. But sex is not always angry and ugly, and it can never be ugly always. Sometimes it is the most beautiful thing possible, but only sometimes in certain moments when the meeting is total, when the two become one rhythm, when there is no two breaths, instead one, and their prana energy, the life force, flows in a circle, not as a rectangle, not as a triangle. When the two have disappeared completely and the two bodies become one whole, when the negative and positive, the male and female, the Shiva and Shakti, the anima and animus have merged into one another, then sex is most beautiful thing ever possible. But this is not always the case. It is not, if it is not possible, you can bring your sex act to a climax of frenzy and madness while alone in a meditative state. Close your room, meditate on it, and allow your body to move as if you are not controlling it. Lose all controls. This is what Levi Asap did, the Hasid master. Hasid evolved out of Christianity. Spouses can be very helpful, but particularly in Tantra, your wife, your husband, or your friend can be very helpful if you both are experimenting deeply. Then allow each total uncontrolled. Forget civilization as if it never existed. Move back as if you are in the Garden of Eden. Throw that apple, the fruit from the tree of knowledge, the tree that the forbidden tree grew in the middle of the Garden of Eden. What is the middle of the Garden of Eden that your body is? Is your solar plexus. That is the center of knowledge. Throw that apple, the fruit from the tree of knowledge, be Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden before they were expelled. Move back. Just be like innocent animals and act out of sexuality in its totality. You will never be same again. Even if you do it once, you will never be the same again. Two things will happen. Sexuality will disappear, but sex will remain. Sexuality and sex are two different things. Sex is existential bioenergy, but sexuality will disappear completely. And when there is no sexuality, sex becomes divine. When the cerebral sexuality is cerebral hankering, when this is no more, when you are not thinking about it, when it has become a simple involvement, a total act, a movement in your, a pulsation in your entire being, not only in the mind, it becomes divine. It becomes divine. Sexuality will disappear first, and then sex may also disappear, because once you know the deeper core of it, you can achieve that core even without sex. But you have not known the deeper core through any act. So how can you achieve it? The first glimpse comes of this deeper core comes through sex. Once known, the path can be traveled in other ways also. Just looking at a flower, you can be in the same ecstasy in which you were when you met with your spouse in a climax. Just watching the stars, you can enter into that ecstasy. Just being by the seashore, seeing the waves rising on the surface of the ocean and disappearing, you will experience the same thing. Once you know the path, you know it within you as well. The spouse will only help you to know it, and you help your spouse to know it. The other has just become a source of explanation. The other is just a challenge to help you something which was always within you and you were not able to explore it. And this is what is happening between master and disciple. The master can become only a challenge to you so that you can explore the hidden potential in you. The master is not giving you anything. He is a catalyst. You have known the chemical reaction of water. When two molecules of hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen interact with one another in the presence of manganese dioxide, then water is formed. Manganese dioxide does nothing, it simply acts as a catalyst. It simply acts as a catalyst. When water is boiling, the heat simply acts as a catalyst. It does nothing, it simply helps. The quality of boiling is there already hidden in the water. Fire does not boil, water boils. So this water was unaware of the quality of boiling. It is the heat that makes it aware, and in the presence of the heat, the water begins to boil. And then heat lends its quality to it. The water becomes hot. That which cannot be given, that which can only be provoked for a while. And as soon as the water has reached the boiling point, you switch off the flame. A master is just provoking you. He challenges you to come to a point where you can realize something which is hidden in you, which was always had been there in you. And once you know it, you will not need the master. Sex may disappear, but before that, the cerebral expression means when you think about sex too much, that is cerebral expression of sex, and that is known as sexuality. That disappears first. Then sex becomes pure, innocent act. Then sex also disappears in the final analysis. And then celibacy is born out of you. It is not opposite to sex. It is just the absence of sex. And remember this difference. This is not in your awareness. Old religions have been condemning sex as if both are same and as if both belong to the same category. They do not. Anger is destructive, sex is creative. All old religions go on condemning them in the similar manner as if sex and anger, greed and sex, jealousy and sex are similar, but they are not. Jealousy is destructive, sex is creative. Greed is destructive, sex is creative. Jealousy is destructive always, it is never creative. Nothing can come out of it. If you try to extract the juice, nothing will come out of it. Anger is always destructive, nothing can come out of it. No nectar, no juice, but out of sex, but you excuse, when you squeeze it out of that nectar, the bliss will happen. Sex is the source of creativity. The divine has used it for creativity, and that is why it has been given to you. Sexuality is like jealousy, is like anger. that has perverted you, that has become cerebral, it is always destructive. Sex is not. But we do not know pure sex. We only know sexuality. A person who is looking for pornographic pictures or who is going through a film, a movie of sexual acts, is not seeking sex. Instead, he is seeking sexuality. Nothing else. There are persons who cannot make love to their wives unless they go through some dirty magazines or books or pictures. When they see those pictures, they get excited. Sex transforms. When sex is transferred to the head, to brain, to the cerebral, it becomes sexuality. Think about it. When you start thinking about sex, it is sexuality. Living it is a different phenomena, different things. And if you can live with sex, you can go beyond it. Anything lived totally leads you to transcendence, leads you to bliss. So do not be afraid of anything. Live it. If you think it is destructive to others, move in with it alone. Do not do it with others. If you think it is creative, then find a partner, find a friend, become a couple, a tantric couple, and move in totality. Because this was your question. If one goes into anger, sex, creatively, what will happen? But this question could not be answered in one way, so it has to be answered in different. The question was, how is it possible that one can be spiritually transformed by being total in actions that are of anger, hatred, violence, and sex? But this question needed much more detailed explanation. That's why it went over a couple sessions, not just in one session. This was the last of that sessions. So until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day. There is another question that will start from tomorrow. Does an enlightened person ever dream? Can you tell us something about the quality and the nature of an enlightened person's sleep? Interesting question, but it will need a much more detailed explanation. So until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.